All right, boys and girls, let's take a look at this. Today's lesson is pretty easy. It's this idea of proving whether you have two parallel lines or not. So let's get started with the same basic idea. Let's just say that this little angle right here is 70 degrees, right? And if this is 70 degrees, well, you know the angle right next to it is going to make a straight line. So 180 minus 70 is 110. Okay, great. So far, so good. Basic. But wait, if you know this is 70, all of a sudden you know this one too, right? Because it's vertical to it, so it's going to be 70 as well. And if this is 70, then this must be supplemental to this, or if this is 110, then this is 110 because it's also vertical. Okay, so far so good. There's nothing new about this. However, you guys can also complete the rest of this, right? Why? It's because you could use your knowledge of everything else, right? Like for example, if you know about corresponding angles, right? Then you know that if this is 110, then this has got to be 110. That's it, right? If you know that this is 70, then this has to be 70 because it creates that Z. And those are alternate interior angles, right? What else? If this is, let's just say, if this outside angle is 70, then that means this outside angle has to be 70. Why? Because those are alternate interior angles, exterior angles, right? And finally, we could use the same idea of corresponding again. If this is 110 and it's on this side of the transversal, then it's going to slide here and it's going to be 110, okay? So basically, here's the deal. If you have the presence of corresponding angles, alternate interior angles, or alternate exterior angles, right? You basically have, these are the big three that are indicators that you have two parallel lines, okay? So let me give you an example of when you don't have a parallel line, okay? Whoops, here, let's just draw a more egregious like piece of work, okay? Here are two lines, and here's the transversal. It's still a transversal. But from the onset, you could say, oh my God, this is not, you know, these are not two parallel lines, right? But I'm just trying to make because they'll try to trick you, okay? They'll give you something that looks something like parallel, slightly off, but you can't tell, right? You can't tell. But here's an example, right? You really cannot tell from here. You know, this is still going to always be vertical to this, right? And this is always going to be supplemental to this. But there's no way that you could say that this is equal to this. This is going to be like, it's a fake Z, basically, right? But it's really not going to be equal. So because this Z, this top Z is definitely a lot greater than this bottom Z, right? So the main idea is this. You know that these two are not parallel because you cannot, this is not going to be equal to this, right? Let's just say if this were 80 degrees, this would be 70. And we know the definition of alternate interior angles is that they have to be equal to each other, right? They have to be congruent. And these are actually not congruent. So that's basically the main idea.